So in terms of process, and is this loud enough? Everyone can hear? Okay, in terms of process, the tribunal's website is really your gateway, like your entry point. The way it's set up is that on that website you'll find the application form, and that form is pretty easy to use, and you can just, click on it, fill it out. You can actually press send at the end, and presto, you've automatically filed your application. You don't need a lawyer to file your application. It's been set up with an access to justice, philosophy behind it. So it's been set up for people to self-represent in as much as possible. And the form you'll think is really long. You'll think it's overly long. Why is this form so long? But really the reason the form is that long is because it forces you to frame your allegations and to be really specific about them. And throughout this process, you've probably been told to document everything and to take notes about your experiences. So this would be the time to pull out the notes and to be really specific about, the 4 W's, like what happened, who was involved, badge numbers, names if you've got them, when the incident occurred, the day, the time, and where. So the address or the intersection. You want to tell your story in chronological order so that it's most easiest for the reader to understand your story. And you also, as Kathy said, want to make really explicit the link to the treatment you experienced and the personal characteristic that was involved, like why you were treated differently or why you were treated the same and why that would be wrong in terms of your race, color, ethnic origin, sex, disability, etc., any of the cited grounds in the code. So, for example, the form is so specific that I'll just cite a little part of it. It says, explain why you were discriminated against on the basis of your disability or perceived disability. Do you have any particular needs related to your disability, yes or no? If you answered yes, describe your needs. Did you ask the respondent to meet your needs? If you answered yes, tell us who you talked to. So it really holds your hand in terms of laying out your facts. The remedies at the tribunal, why you would go to the tribunal specifically and not to some other legal forum. Basically, the tribunal can issue orders. That's what happens if you go to a hearing, or at the mediation stage, you would get a mediated settlement. And there are various things that could flow from that. So you could get the tribunal to issue orders, or the opposing party to agree to what are called public interest remedies. And these are orders or agreements with respect to future practices that would ensure compliance with the Human Rights Code in the future. So for instance, you could get a certain policy of the police maybe reviewed and looked at, and with a view to making it better. You could maybe get agreement on training of some kind. And then there are also, apart from those non-monetary remedies, there are monetary remedies available through the tribunal system, and they fall into 2 categories. We have general damages, and those represent the symbolic amount for the discrimination you may have experienced, including injury to your dignity, to your feelings, to your self-respect. So that's a non-tangible amount. But then we also have what's called special or specific damages, and those are for actual losses that you incurred. So if you had to miss work, then you can ask for lost wages. If your equipment was confiscated or not returned, then you could ask for a monetary value that would represent that amount. Okay, what the tribunal doesn't do, and I want to put this out there because it's important to keep in mind, like, it's not a punitive system, it doesn't punish. So the tribunal wouldn't order the police to discipline any of its employees. And the tribunal also wouldn't order like a suspension of officers involved. And it wouldn't be able to determine whether misconduct occurred. And that's what you would want to do. We'll hear about that later, but if you're looking for that kind of remedy, then you would file an internal police complaint with the OIPRD. And I think we're basically out of time, but I just wanted to say something about the limitation period. Okay, you have 1 year from the date of these events to file an application. So if you're indecisive or you're exploring your options, or you just need time to gather information, you actually have a whole year to do so. Whereas if you're filing an application with the OIPRD and internal police complaints, you only have 6 months. So it's not like you have to make a decision tomorrow, but you have to make it by 2011. And in terms of time commitment at the tribunal, it is a commitment. This whole process is a commitment. It can take about 5 months just to get through the pleading stage. Mediation could be 5 months later, and a hearing could be like a number of months after that, and then the vice chairs, they write a decision in the end, and that can take anywhere from 3 months to a year. So you're looking at about a year of your life with this going on in the background, but that's a short time frame in the grand scheme of things. So that's about all I have to say about that, and I think we'll do Q&A now.
I just wanted to say one more thing about Officer Bubbles. If you don't know who that is, Google it. Sorry if that was an exclusive joke. With respect to the question and answer session, I just want to remind everyone what Claire already said, which is, unfortunately, this isn't the time to tell your own story. I know that can be a real empowering thing to be able to speak, but this isn't a really safe space in this room. We don't know who's in here, and so we just ask you, if you have questions, that they sort of stick to the process, to the things that Kathy and Janina referred to. And I also wanted to bring your attention to the fact that at the back of the room, there's very beautiful signs that have to do with each legal area, including human rights. And there's Marla and Catherine are sitting back there. They're waving now. And so, for example, during the break, during the rest of the afternoon, if you have more questions, follow-up questions, you want to be put on a specific list that has to do with human rights process updates and surrounding the G20 and all of that, you can do that all at the back there. And they'll be here all afternoon. Do you have one more thing you want to say?
The person that came to the front reminded me that I didn't mention creed as a prohibited ground of discrimination. So the code does list discrimination based on your creed or religion. It has usually been interpreted to mean religion, but it is open to interpretation. I wanted to mention that pleadings are, when we say it takes a while to do your pleadings, we mean by that you file your application, the tribunal gives that application to the police. The police then have a period to put in a response, and you have a period to reply. So that process takes about 6 months. And then mediation means you get together in a room with one of the tribunal judges, adjudicators, and they try to settle your application with the police also in the room. Well, you can be in separate rooms.